Okay, now we're on our third tutorial, and we want to reset the pumpkin. We just don't want it to keep going straight down and then it just stays there. We want it so that if we caught the pumpkin, we get a score, and the pumpkin now needs to move to some random position, not always the same place because that wouldn't be very fun. So we need to reset our pumpkin. So we need to figure out a number, a place in which it can go somewhere on this screen. So let's go ahead and let's open up our operators. This is a good place to go to get familiar with all the different operations, but I'm going to choose pick a random for a minute. And right now it says 1 to 10. But I want it to go anywhere on the x-axis. I want it to be always at the top, so somewhere around 178, 179 up there. But it can go anywhere from negative 240, right, to positive 240. So let's grab the motion block for a minute. And let's find go to X and Y right now. Now this is where you have the control. I want it to go anywhere on the X from a negative 240 to anywhere on the Y right now that is about let's say 179, okay, positive 179. So it can go anywhere this way and anywhere up to here. Is that right? But on my random, I want it to go, I'm going to drop this. Let me just drop this for a minute right here in here so I can get it to look right. Good. All right. So actually what I want it to say is, where it says pick random, I want this to say negative 240. And I want it to go anywhere on the positive y-axis to a positive 240, on the x-axis. So this is my x. Go to anywhere on the x from a negative 240 to a positive 240. And I want it to always go up towards 179. When do I want that to happen? Where do I want to put this? Well, let's walk our steps through. When the green flag is clicked, I always want my pumpkin to go to the top. I always want the score set to 0. And I always want it to keep going down the y-axis unless it touches the witch. If it touches the witch, I want to get a point. Once I get the point, I want that pumpkin to go randomly somewhere on that screen. So therefore, I want it to go right after that score. So that's why it's a good idea to always stop for a minute and walk yourself through each step. But now what happens if the witch doesn't catch it? So let's see what happens. I'm going to hit the green flag. And let's catch it. And let's see if it goes random. Good. So it went all the way up to 179. And it chose its own coordinates somewhere, anywhere between a negative 240. Maybe I should have made it like negative 230 or something so it didn't go all the way off the screen. And then anywhere you want. So this is great. But I don't have anything if I miss the pumpkin. We have to be able to tell the players what's going to happen if they miss it. So we're going to add another sprite, but this is actually text. And to you it might not seem like a sprite, but it is a sprite because it's going to be programmed to have to come out at certain times. So even though if I didn't make it a sprite, it would stay on the screen the whole time, and we don't want it to be on the screen the whole time. So let's click on making a sprite again. But in the text box, notice that it's down here. I'm going to move it up here. And you can change the size of it to whatever you want. And you can change the color. Since my background is dark, I like to use something bright like a yellow. And I'm going to type you lose. And move it around because once you set it, it's there. And if you like that, or you could say you lost. Maybe I'll say you lost. Good. You lost. Say OK. Now notice the words you lost automatically appear, even if I start the game. My pumpkin's up at the top like it's supposed to. I can move it with my witch like I'm supposed to, and I'm getting points like I'm supposed to, and I'm no longer getting a whole bunch of points, because once it touches me, it goes to random, but the words you lost stay there. This is very important. We need to now talk to this sprite, the words you lost, and tell it that we don't want it to show up until we're ready for it to show up. So we have to hide this message when the game starts. So we're in the you lost sprite, so I'm going to call that the you lost. And I'm going to go into the green flag because I'm going to say, hey, when this game starts, I don't want to see it. So in the looks, we need to go down to hide. They don't show up yet. Let's see if that happens. Click the green arrow. Sure enough, it's gone. But if my witch misses the pumpkin, where are my words? I'm going to have to create something to tell it for one sprite to speak to another. I've got to also recognize that when it hits a certain point down here is maybe when I want the words you lost to show up. That's why it's very important to know your coordinates on the screen at all times. So if the Y position gets really near the bottom, like near negative 180, you need to drag out another if statement from the control to say something like, if this happens, if this occurs on the Y position, I need something to happen. So we need sprites to communicate by passing messages to each other. One sprite's going to broadcast a message. The other sprite can listen for it and react to it when they receive it. So let's click on the control panel. And we're going to drag out the broadcast box that's blank, broadcast. And broadcasting in programming is when one sprite is communicating to the other sprite. Let's click down the little arrow, and it says New. And this is where I like to use words that are very similar to whatever the action is. So it's not going to show up on the screen. This is just communication between the sprites. So I'm just going to type the word lost and hit OK. So what I'm saying is that when I broadcast lost, I want the words you lost to show up. And when the words you lost, when they receive that command, it needs to show up, correct? So let's put, where does this broadcast need to go? Well, when I receive, how about when I receive? When I receive, lost, I'm going to show up. So let's put that in there for now. When I receive the words lost, I'm going to show up. I'm going to stop now and pause while you make any change.